Hello everybody, Intuition here. Thank you as always for making time and space for us. Today we would like to discuss how to raise your vibrational consciousness and frequency. In order to discuss that, it is important to highlight, bold, underline the rule of three, because if you do not understand this, then it is a little bit more challenging to understand how to raise your vibrational frequency. The rule of three is that we live in a three-dimensional world, so to speak, and because of that, there is always going to be polarity. Polarity meaning there's going to be a positive, there's going to be a negative, and because there are 2 points that exist, there's going to inherently be a third point. So, understanding that, it is important to understand that there are three dimensionalities to us. One in the negative, one in the positive, and one right in the middle. And so, the three dimensionalities to us are this. There is the lower self, the behavioral pattern, the personality, the ego, whatever words and terminologies you know it as. That is the lower self. That is the negative point. Most of us are operating from those thoughts, from those behaviors, from those habits, from the personality, from the ego. And that is most of where our problems come from. And that is why we are operating on such a low vibrational frequency. Because that is where we are living our lives from, and then therefore synthesizing the information of now through the lens of this lower energy, this lower vibrational point. So there is the ego, the personality, the habits, the trauma, the behaviors. That is the hyper-negative in the sense of polarity. The next point is the real you. The real you is the seat of consciousness. That is the middle point. The seat of consciousness isn't really having any thoughts. It is simply making itself available for the now. The real you is above thoughts, above behaviors, beyond the personality, beyond the trauma. We have all heard the idea, you're more than your feelings, you're more than your trauma, you're more than your story. And that is so because you are the seat of consciousness. But when you over-identify with that trauma, with those behaviors, with those personalities, and lose yourself in the over-identification of those pains, those hurts, those traumas, those thoughts, and allow that to color your perspective at the seat of consciousness, that's when you start losing yourself in a lower vibrational energy and frequency that does not lend to the reality of what it is that's happening. Because all that's happening now, genuinely, truly, is neutral. Everything that is happening now is neutral. The only reason why you would judge it as something different is because you're comparing it to the lens of the past that is getting in the way of you seeing the neutrality of the situation like you would if you were genuinely sitting in the seat of consciousness in the middle point, which is always going to be balanced because we live in a world of polarity. So, again, behaviors, personality, traumas, thoughts, that is all the hyper-negative. That is the ego, as it is often referred to. Then, the middle point is the seat of consciousness, which is always going to be neutral. It is always going to be balanced. It is not judging either in the positive or negative. It is just consciousness that is taking in all the information and not necessarily making it into a good or bad synthesization. It is just simply open enough to receive what it is that is happening. That is you, inherently. Then we move into the hyperpositive. The hyperpositive, the third dimensionality of yourself, is your higher self, which is you. The aspect of yourself that is not having a physical reality expression, which allows it to have a higher consciousness, a higher aspect of self, because it is not entertaining and engaging in a physical reality. It is engaging in a non-physical reality, which allows it to have more objectivity, because it is not connected to a memory of the past that it has to move through in order to be objective. So, Again, as we stated before, many of us are operating from the hyper-negative understanding of self. That hyper-negative understanding of self is based off of the periphery of the traumas, the triggers that we've experienced that then therefore formulate habits, that then therefore move into behaviors, that then therefore solidify into a personality construct. That personality construct will then move into the center of your being in the sense of it will become the lens in which you are perceiving through the seat of consciousness. That personality construct will get in the way of you being able to be objective in what it is that is happening in the now. And if there's a lens over your eyes that don't allow you to see what it is that's happening now, you're never really experiencing what it is that's happening now. Which means you're always really just experiencing a memory of the past, which would inherently get in the way of you being a higher dimensional being, or at baseline with what it is that you inherently are at the seat of consciousness, because you are moving into density. Because again, you're seeing the world through a personality construct that you were over-identified with, that is only formulated by your traumas, your triggers, your hurts, that then therefore become habits, that then therefore move into behaviors, that then again solidify into a personality construct that you over-identify with, that is not really you, because it is based in a story that you've told yourself is more important than the objectivity of who it is that you are. And so how you move into more of a higher vibrational frequency is not losing yourself in a thought stream. Not over-identifying with your thoughts. And we do not just necessarily mean when you are triggered by something or an event or a situation, and then you getting carried away in a thought stream. We mean just basic nonsensical thoughts that pop into your head every day. You're sitting in traffic, you see that there's traffic, and then you have a thought that says, wow, there's a lot of people on the road today. Why are you having that thought? That intrusive thought is taking you away from the moment that you are experiencing the traffic. And when you have that thought, again, you are no longer in the experience. You're moving into the words of the experience. You're moving into the memory of the experience, which is taking you away from the now experience that you would be having. That is more meaningful. That takes a higher vibrational consciousness to even see, versus you moving into the memory of a thought that is reiterating what it is that you just saw in your conscious reality. You don't need to tell yourself it's busy today. You know it's busy today. You see it with your eyes. There's a bunch of people out on the road. You don't need to tell yourself then, wow, it's busy today. There's a lot of people out today. And I thought it was a holiday. Nonsense. Meaningless. Ridiculous. All of those thoughts take you away from being more vibrationally viable and conscious. Many individuals we hear say, we want to be able to hear our higher selves more. We want to be more mindful. We want to be more conscious. And it genuinely is as simple as when you stop that thought parade and losing yourself in that thought stream, and literally create a boundary. Every time I'm having a thought, nope, that's not helping. My thoughts are not helping me to process what it is that's happening. It's taking me away from the now, in which I really need to be processing and putting me into a memory. So no, I don't need to have this thought. As soon as you start doing that, you start getting more familiar with your own voice, not the personality's voice, your own voice. And then once you start getting a hang of your own voice, then you start hearing another voice. That other voice is your higher self's voice. And your higher self's voice, as well as your own voice, has always been there, but it's a lot quieter than the personality's voice. But you won't realize that or hear it if you're getting lost in that thought stream, lost in that ego, lost in that personality, lost in the behaviors, lost in the trauma. So raising your vibrational frequency, you don't need to go to church, you don't need to go to temple, you don't need to recite a hymn. Literally, it's as simple as letting go of those thoughts, moving into the center of your being, that is the seat of consciousness, and simply being available for that next moment. People hate. Funnily enough, people hate when somebody is not emotionally available, when somebody's not physically available. However, you are hardly ever emotionally or physically available because you are lost in the memory and thought process of the past. So be emotionally available, be physically available for the moment of now, the reality of now that is happening right now, not in your thought process, not in a memory of the past, but right now. Be here. This is where all the answers are. You're not going to find the closure that you think you are looking for in the thoughts of the past. It is right now. So find yourself right here. Because you don't exist in the past, you exist in the now. And you won't find yourself looking in all directions other than the directionality that is right in front of your face. As always, just a little food for thought. We are full of gratitude for making time and space for us, and we wish you well seeing yourself because you are right here. No need to look any further than right in front of you. Well wishes.